Hi, good afternoon. Back now. It's a little later. It's just after 5 p.m. Ran out of juice, so I have to start over. Need a break anyway after that. We are here again. This is a release for the public good. Again, this is in relation to what happened with John Thomas Lichty. It's for the public good. The second call here that I'm showing is from call from the coroner, regional supervisor, I guess, of the coroner, Dr. Karen Schiff. It happened July 29, 2019, and it's 26 minutes in length. So again, you need to look at part 1 to get the backgrounder on this, but this is the actual call to the supervisor after the call from the local coroner. Again, I had said, okay, between that, so coroner from whne region called back. We had left a message for him on July 19th. He called back July 20th, 2019. That was 10 minutes, 12 seconds. That was the one that we just listened to. I called the coroner's office in Hamilton July 22nd, 2019, and spoke with the intake person for 27 minutes and 5 seconds. We had a call from the local coroner, minute and 42 seconds on July 22nd, 2019. Message from the coroner supervisor, July 22nd, 2019, 24 seconds. And then this call, which was between myself and coroner Dr. Karen Schiff, regional director, I guess, of coroners. Again, July 29, 2019, 26 minutes. So let's just listen to that. Oops. Hello?
May I please speak with Mr. Chris Bacon?
Yeah, you're speaking with.
Well, Mr. Bacon, it's Dr. Karen Schiff calling. How are you today?
Oh, not so bad. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. I got a voicemail that you were returning my call earlier today, and I'm now returning yours.
Yeah. It was regarding John Thomas Lichty, file number 2019107773.
Yes.
Yeah, you called me I guess a week ago or something, or last week, whatever.
Yes.
So I just got your message, and I was calling back and seeing what's what. So are you guys almost done with them, or?
We're still in the process of collecting some information, and I was hoping to actually chat with you last week in response to your letter.
Okay.
Maybe if you could be so kind as just to provide me with some clarity on specifically what your concerns were, that certainly would help us.
Well, like I said in the letter, I kind of came into it a little bit after the fact because, again, Denise and Carrie knows more about what actually happened at the hospital. But my concern is that it appears, because again I saw inside, the social worker showed me the form that John signed.
Mr. Beacon, sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Are you on the cell phone by chance?
No, I'm actually on my
line. Okay, it's just coming in and out here a little bit. Maybe it's my cell phone. Allow me just to reposition myself so I can hear you really clearly. Cell phone technology, right? We need them, and then they don't work on us. So let me just try in another spot here. I can hear you clearly. Okay, let me, if you don't mind, just starting again for me.
Yeah. Actually, basically, this, because of what was going on with him being over 10 days non-responsive or whatever, not able to speak for himself and all that, it was recommended that we go ahead, and because she was going to have to deal with his affairs for rent and stuff like that, to seek a power of attorney at the time. So she asked me to help her with that, so I knew it basically, because my mom worked there for years, and I knew you had to go through like probably records and do a release of information, but because it was related to a legal situation, which would be secondary care, what do you call it, substitute decision maker, I guess, or next to kin, whatever it would have been, under the capacity of what he put it in. Basically, I was told that as part of that, because we have people who we could vouch for him. We also had other stuff from John for her to do that. But the biggest thing was that it appeared that John had put her in that capacity, and that the hospital were treating her in that capacity, so it was recommended, well, get that document and any document she signed in that capacity, because that shows that she was given that relationship, right? So because it was legal documents, which she's supposed to have technically a copy of anyway, they did give her one, but it wasn't signed by the doctors, that she had signed. But anyway, so again, the thought was, well, maybe they're just going to turn it over at the nurses' stations because it's legal documents that she should have. So we initiated the question, is she going to get it from the nurses' station, or do we have to put in a form? And it was a simple question. Should have been a simple answer. They came back and they said, no, we'll help you with it. We'll get the forms for you to carry and whatever. And every time they kept, I guess they came back the next day with the forms, but they had filled out her name improperly or something, so they had to take it back again. And she was just trying to focus on what's going on with John, because they had put her into this situation. Like the way I had understood it when they came, because I wasn't there that night. But when they came home, Carrie was confused, because she's sitting there going like, how's John? She's like, well, he's not doing too good, and they want to do a DNR or something like that. And they're asking me, and I'm going, well, why are they asking you? And she says, I guess I'm making the decision. Right, so it was basically, she got thrust into that, however, but the point is basically it was an innocent thing going through it, and all of a sudden, because we asked for these forms, all of a sudden it started becoming a problem, and they were doing all this stuff to go around, like they were just doing stuff that didn't make sense about anything. John started to come to, and we were able to get him to communicate for himself. Every time that happened, he was put under again. Anyway, the point is like, and again, we're not second guessing anything. I mean, you guys, you're going to look at the whole thing and determine. It's not about criminality or anything. It's about determining what happened and how we can keep it from happening again if there was mistakes made, right? But anyway, the point is, like, we called a meeting because Carrie was concerned about the doctor's bedside manner and stuff, and there was a few other concerns, and also about these documents. So we called a meeting. That's when we finally had a meeting. When we sat down in the meeting, that's when the hospital first advised me that there was no next of kin designated by John. Matter of fact, the social worker was sitting right beside me in the meeting. She opened up the file and showed me. We also recorded part of the meeting, and it was said, and again, they were going, well, you're not, like, they were asking her, are you common law? And she's like, well, she just went, yeah, we just decided. And that was news to me, and whatever, because I'd known him for a few years and stuff like that. But I later, when I asked her about it, she said because she felt pressure. She didn't know what was going to happen, so she just went, yeah, like, just get this out of the way, because I got other things. Like, she's very at the end of her rope by that time. Anyway, so they were just more concerned, and they had said in that meeting that they had talked to the Office of the Advocate, that they were in conversation with the Office of the Advocate. So I'm sitting here thinking right away, like, this is odd, right? And it was a short meeting. Of course, we all focused on John again because we thought everything was done. They were going to get the documents again. And we left it at that. Then all of a sudden he took a turn for the worse, and all this other stuff started happening. But the point is this. The clarification is this. From what I understand, again, until I see an actual document up close, from what I remember it, and that from what they said, John did not designate her as substitute decision maker. There was nobody in that position. When she showed me that form, it was John's signature on that form only. And what that means is that because John did not, now he did make a video because he thought, I guess he thought you make a video going in and that becomes legal for a will, but it's not actually a will, but it does show, it indicates his direction or directive, right? So we're still going through that process, but the point is that John had left it that if anything was going to happen, he was not going to make it off that table. He did not want her to make that decision. He wanted the doctor to make that decision. So from day one, like whenever they did that, where he came out and they started turning for the worse and they started pressuring her, like sign this DNR or do a DNR, she wasn't even legally in the position to do that. But because, I guess it must have been because their interaction, like I don't want to put words in their mouths, but I guess it would be because of their closeness. Like myself and my roommate, we're not romantically involved either, but we play music for years and we share facilities. right? And a lot of people mistake us for being romantically involved, but we've never been. So maybe it was that, the camaraderie between them or something that made them think they were common law or something, but, or either way, the point is, they should have followed John's directive. And for whatever reason, and that's for you to determine, I guess, they missed it, and she was, they automatically assumed she was in that position. By the time they figured it out, and this is where I've got a problem with it, the minute they figured it out, risk management, and they called the advocate, the minute the advocate became aware there was a problem, the advocate only had one job only, and that was to protect John's rights. Period. He should have called it right then and there, got to the bottom of what the actual thing was, and start coming clean, because all they were interested in, from my experience, is they were looking to cover their liability, that they were at risk, that they made a mistake, and she kept on coming home every day going, they keep pressuring me like I should make this decision. Like I'm the one to make this decision. I don't know why. And I'm like, you know, I tried to manage it for her to get that out of the way. And also the power of attorney, we were told once she got one, you're supposed to file it with the bank and probably give one to the hospital too, if he was still alive. But the whole issue was because he was beyond 10 days of not being able to speak for himself. She had to manage the stuff for like the place that they share together. It was only recommended for power of attorney in order to do that. But they were talking about tracheostomy, and he might be able to start speaking for himself, and we had gotten him speaking for, like, communicating at least, anyway. Where he communicated he was in pain and he needed help. And we were able to get him to communicate, so. Again, the point is this, though. If it was an error, basically from the moment they made that error, and we were all present, especially Carrie and Denise were present when they multiple shocked him. The guy called himself a nephew, but he's not really a nephew. It's more like I guess he saw him as a father figure, uncle figure growing up or something. But anyway, Ed was there. I saw it. Austin, her developmentally challenged son, was there and saw these repeated shocks over the weeks. The staff who work at CVC-ICU had to not only see it, but they were involved in it. The point is this: the minute they were the ones supposed to make the call, and from the moment they didn't make that call right, it was 14 days. Well, from what I gathered, 14 or 15 days of post. Like that was not what John wanted.
Okay.
He was not supposed to do that, and everybody else was put through the same thing too. Now again, let me be clear. And I'm concerned about the CVC-ICU people too. So again, as far as staff and everybody doing what they did in the roles that they were supposed to do, everybody did the best they could. There's a lot of other factors why this probably happened, such as John's health. We were questioning about why they put him through the operation in the first place when he did not have his water under control. And that became a major issue in his, like, afterwards. I mean, bottom line is they should have let him go. But, I mean, everything after that, again, that's for you to determine and see how we can help to make sure that everybody doesn't go through this again. If there's something there, I don't even know. I mean, that's up to you to determine, right? But from my understanding, what your role is to do that.
Yeah, maybe we could just take a step back here.
Yeah.
And I could walk through with you what the purpose of a coroner investigation does. I hear your concern, but from what I'm hearing, I think many of them extend far, far, far beyond the scope of a coroner investigation. So yeah,
well, that's why I believe the police are involved now, which is why they got in touch with us. I don't know how this goes. All I know is that it seemed to us that the hospital was doing everything in their power to sweep it under the rug, to not have anything come of this, to just bully her into going, go cremate him and have it done. They did it, and again, sorry, what?
So just maybe I can just outline for you what a coroner investigation would do. You know, there are other ways, you know, for hospital investigations to take care of, but
no, but the first thing was from the point of being a crime, like from the point if they the minute they did not follow that directive, they did nothing but harm to him.
So
it was unnecessary medical procedures. He was shocked multiple times. He was in extreme pain. When he did come through, it looked like he was screaming at us, "No, let me go," or whatever, and everybody had the same thing. plus for every one of us, if his thing was to be let go, every one of us is now in front of him every time he comes through going, oh, don't worry, we're going to bring you home. Which was totally against his wishes. So psychologically and everything else, if this is what happened to him, the harm was done to him and everybody else, but mostly to him because, again, that was against his medical, this is a medical, from the way I understand it, this is a medical directive that he gave and they ignored it. Or by error or omission or deliberate, doesn't matter. It's what happened from it. And everybody paid for that price, especially the people at CVC-ICU having to administer to try and save his life. You know, because the other thing, like the biggest thing is this. The minute they discovered it, all they had to do was the right thing. Come clean. This is how it is. Carrie would have been, that's what we thought, that's fine, because now the pressure's off of her. He would have been able to pass. If, you know, obviously that's what happened, because when they finally did, he did. But I'm talking about the actions of the hospital, especially when it comes to the DNR, because when they completed the DNR, they went through the, and this is what it is. They keep telling her that when they want her to make a decision that benefits them, she was substitute decision maker. But when we said, excuse me, we need arm's length between this because of the harm you've done to her, they're going, we don't have to listen to you. So they're picking and choosing when they're putting her into this role. And once this problem started, the main concern that I had was she told me when they went through the motion of making her go through that DNR, they did not have her sign a damn thing. So they put her in the role again, but legally had her in limbo. Everybody was in limbo because they decided to take an action they were not allowed to take, especially on behalf of the advocate. Because the advocate and the hospital are not allowed to sit there and negotiate how they're going to get out of problems. The only thing that advocate was supposed to do was defend John's rights, period. And that directed, if that's what it was. From the moment that didn't happen, there's a problem.
I understand your concerns completely. I need to outline for you what a coroner does.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay? A coroner has to answer 5 questions. So we get involved in death when we have very specific criteria. Okay? So for example, if it's sudden or unexpected, you know, if it's because of a non-natural disease process, like an accident or injury.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have certain types of cases that we get involved with. Now we have to answer 5 questions, and this is what the coroner does.
Yeah.
Who is the deceased person? Okay, so we know that. When did they die? Where did they die? And what is the cause of death? So what is the medical condition, whether it be a heart attack or injuries, what have you?
Yeah.
And what is the manner of death? So there's
Right.
5 of those, and that's whether that be because of an accident, an injury, so a car accident or something.
Uh-huh.
Is it because of suicide,
Right.
homicide, or a natural disease
I
process?
understand all that.
So that's what the coroner does. We don't
So where's the
oversee
problem with what's happening here then?
So we don't oversee hospital care. We don't.
How do you know that how do you know that their steps that they took did not contribute to his death? Because if he was left to nature doing it, and you're talking 14 days of medical procedures and intervention against his medical directive, and you're telling me that you can look into some crystal ball and say that that had nothing to do with his cause of death? Like, of course, the condition was heart.
I'm outlining
excuse me,
what a
please.
coroner
Excuse me,
can
can I finish
answer
saying
and
what
what a
I'm saying,
coroner
please?
cannot answer.
Well,
I'm
can
just-
I finish saying what I'm saying, please? So it's his heart, it's the operation. Should have even had that operation in the first place, because every medical indication is unless he was going to drop dead immediately, the answer should have been no. He should not have even been given that option, because it sounds like what should have happened is he should have gotten a pacemaker or whatever the hell it is, defibrillator, and been able to finish living out his life as one of the options. But he was told this was his only option. So there's a series of events that led up to this whole thing, but the biggest thing is, like I said, you just said you have determined how he died and what was the cause of his death. Well, you can't just automatically say, well, he died of a heart attack, because he had 14 days of intervention after that, because if he would have died on the day he asked to, which is when the doctor should have made the call, That would have been natural causes.
Okay.
But when you're talking, when he's shocked repeatedly, when all those interventions happen, you're saying unequivocally, without going any further, you can say that unequivocally it had nothing to do with his death or the manner in which he died, such as being tortured. Because the manner in which he died, if this is true, is he was tortured.
I'm not speaking to any specifics related to this case.
I'm not asking you to. I'm just saying we're talking generalities, right?
Strokes about what a coroner can and cannot do.
Well, from what you described as your purview, that's exactly what your purview is. And I'm sorry if your penchant is to play down the role of medicine. And I know that his rights are temporarily suspended the minute he dies, but he had rights when he was alive, and they were being ignored. His right was to say, if when I come off that table, I'm not good enough to last, it's the doctor who makes the call, not turn it around and make this whole drama and then another drama behind the drama because you have the drama going that you have to cover for the drama of. And now we got this other drama afterwards. Why is it you can't just simply, and again, here it is a week since he passed. You've got the coroner's office literally has been interfering, especially your local guy. Because again, that was a directive that was made by her in the capacity that she was being treated at the time as substitute decision maker. She asked for that space, and I've got your coroner saying that he doesn't care about any of that. He doesn't care if there was a crime committed. And he went around me when I'm sitting there, when we were asking, and around the letter that was given to the hospital. Now, is he not an employee of the hospital, or is he not because he's representative of the coroner, so he receives bodies for what, Grand River and St. Mary's because they're amalgamated now, right? But it's really interesting, like I said, where the medical error appeared to have happened, everybody's trying to bury the fact before it can be looked into properly. So I've got a problem with that. I'm sorry.
The coroners...
Plus, there was how many days was he without nutrition? Because Denise is saying he didn't even have any food hooked up for, what, 4 or 5 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, all these questions you need to look into. But I mean, I'm not telling you how to do your job.
Okay.
You're the one, I'm just giving you the facts and what we've seen, and there are multiple witnesses who saw what was done to him after the fact. And like I said, if the bottom line is that form was not signed for decision maker, that doctor in that hospital was required to make that decision, nobody else. And when they discovered that, they should have made the decision, but again, instead of taking the proper steps, they took exculpatory steps to cover up what was going on and to try to use the situation to pressure their desire for an outcome. And I'm sorry, I have a problem with that, and I'm pretty darn sure that the public will too. Okay, so these things about dying with a will or without, and that's the other thing. Where's the public information? Where's the education to the public about how important this is? Because you know what? John was not aware of it. And most people aren't because they don't think they're going to die. But you know, that doesn't preclude the responsibility of the hospital or the ministry or whoever, the government, or the Ontario Medical Association or Hospital Association to get together and come up with something that is a little bit more explanatory without calling it legal advice, because it's not legal advice, it's instruction.
Okay.
And you know what? Risk management, don't kid yourself. Risk management is saying how much at risk have we been exposed to, and the minute you get exposed to it, this is the real price of privatization. The person gets cut off, and whose medical record is it? Who owns the medical record? It's the patient, not the doctors. And you guys are, like, I got a real good education how to deal with all these people over the years, but you know what? Dot your I's, cross your T's, do whatever you need to do, because the bottom line is this, it's your responsibility. And I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. The only thing I would ask you is that, please, again, if you are doing an autopsy on John, then do it and get it over with, and let's have the body back, please, because this has been ridiculous from every aspect. And it's been nothing but punishing and painful. Okay, and there's no reason why you can't do the autopsy, because you're not going to be doing your report based on the autopsy right away. You got to look at the whole file. So your report's not coming until down the road anyway. So please just deal with him, bring him home so we can deal with him, please. That's the biggest pain of all.
You know, not only that, he should have died back March 3rd or 4th or 5th or whenever the hell it was, but now she's being put through all of this. Because people are sitting there trying to check their P's and Q's when it is obvious what happened here. You need to just look at this, take responsibility, and let's make sure this never happens to a family, to a person, especially a person who just happens to be on ODSP, and the doctor keeps coming up going, yeah, we're going to do this for him, but then a couple days later, well, we don't know if it's worth it. Which is saying John's not worth it. And again, like I said to the hospital, if he had third-party insurance like Blue Cross or whatever, none of these conversations would even be taking place. So, isn't that part of your purview as a coroner as well? How it affects the public in the general? Anyway, again, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, but there it is. And yes, the police are looking into it. No, we are not going to let this go lightly because we're all witness to it. And how do you get past every single person that was there to witness it? That so far I have not told anybody anything. The only people who know about it is myself, Denise, and Carrie.
The nurses on that floor that had
Well, I mean,
shot
everybody.
you.
Well, no, they don't know. They don't know about the thing about he had
Okay.
do not resuscitate or whatever.
Thank you very much for providing all that information for me. I very much appreciate it.
So is Dr. Heyer involved in this as well? Because I sent a copy to him.
So, yeah, Dr. Heyer is the chief coroner. And
Yes, I know who he is. That's why I'm saying, like, again, it's really interesting because everything to do with around here is always regional. You're the regional manager, right?
That's correct.
For the regional municipality of Waterloo, right?
Well, Waterloo is one of the areas for which I oversee. I have a number of various
So
other
it's the
regions.
region that controls all the information at this, because the region rules. We're starting to figure that out. It's regional police, regional courthouse, regional coroner. Is that why everything changed? Is that why everybody's going to Toronto now? Anyway, it must be interesting. You guys got your job cut out for you, that's for sure. But you know what? There's something called truth, and you guys can do whatever you want. Go ahead. You think you're fooling anybody? You're not.
Well, thank you very much, Mr.
Anyway.
Stevens, for your time and all the information you provided to me. It's much
Is there any idea? Can you give me a ballpark when you might be able to release him to lawsuit?
I don't know. I'll have to have some further discussion. We need to make an autopsy decision based on if the
So you haven't even autopsied him yet, right?
we have to make our decisions in light of.
Have you? So he hasn't even had an autopsy yet.
I cannot discuss the specifics.
Okay, that's fine. I assume he hasn't because again, that's fine. You guys scramble your eggs and we'll make sure we put them together for you. Okay? If we have to, we will. It's not a problem.
Okay, sir.
Big embarrassment. Anyway, good luck. And sorry to meet you under these circumstances. Thank you for what you do. Okay? I know it's a tough job.
Thank you for all of your time. It's much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so as you can see, I'm back now. Left it for it to finish out. Sorry. Anyway, so as you can hear on there, that's what it takes to try and get the right thing done. I think I made myself clear on where we were. To let you know, as you might have heard in that recording, John was not, didn't even have the autopsy done yet. On the 29th of July, it still took some time after that. I'm not able to look it up right now because this has just been exhausting and having to go listen to this again is just like totally unbearable. Re-traumatizing, but then that's the whole point. That's why they make you do it. Anyway, we finally got it back at Henry Walser Funeral Home. Henry Walser Funeral Home again. Kudos. It was the most difficult situation. They even said in all their experience in funeral care, they have never had a situation like that at the coroner's office, ever. And they were nothing but careful. What happened was the coroner, after that point, they had been seeking next of kin based on succession, I guess, because they just locked us all out and because we were a threat. And they were trying to shut us down and get past this autopsy. We met the next of kin. We were actually almost shut out at Walser because legal rights, they had the right to do whatever and they could have shut us out because it wasn't determined yet through
process you have to go through for that. Anyway, so we had contacted the family, and we had let them know that whether, no matter which way it went, the ones that were wanting to get involved, because it was only, I think it was an aunt. I can't remember. I'm too stressed right now. But anyway, the aunt and the niece or something, and we met them at the funeral home, and we all, I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, given what was going on, we were trying to all balance and manage everything as best we could. Anyway, at Walser Funeral Home again, we were there, and when we took a break in between making arrangements, agreeing on the arrangements and that, we had a discussion with the aunt where she was curious as to what was going on, because she didn't tell us anything. She just said it was weird what was going on, and could we maybe explain what happened from our end? So we told her the truth about what happened with regard to the document and all that, and she all of a sudden said, and again I'm ad-libbing this from memory, but anyway, she basically said, yeah, she was wondering why the coroner made that request of her. We went, what kind of request? And what she said was that the coroner had contacted her as an ex-kin and said, yeah, we could do an autopsy, but you've waited long enough, so we know what he died of. It was his heart, so we will cut out his heart and do an autopsy on his heart and return the body. And she's like, okay, but what do you mean? And she said, so you'd send the heart back and then we bury him? And she went, no, we don't send the heart back. We'll just keep the heart and you can deal with his remains. And again, thank God she's a Catholic, because she believes that, I guess, I didn't really talk to her about it, but she said she's Catholic, and she said she didn't believe in that. So she insisted that, no, he has to be returned in one piece after the autopsy. Ken, you could tell from the conversations we were being shut out because of the nature of what we were bringing forward. So anyway, they went with next of kin. We were able to finally have him dealt with. He's at his final resting place. So thank you for that. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name right now because I'm... okay, so we're almost done here. Basically, notwithstanding is a legal term, John was on ODSP, and again, we are treated more as a commodity because they have this balance, even though they say it's not a for-profit system, they have this balance called cost outweighs benefit, such as that is how they come up with the crisis number of ICU beds, which, based on their statistics, per 100,000 is 1 bed per 100,000. So for 350,000 people in Kitchener-Waterloo, that is 3.5 beds to 10 beds. And then because of COVID, they allowed, I think it was 3 times that amount, or no, 14 beds. I think it was up to 14 beds, but they allowed 3 times that amount, which means now you're allowed to have just over 10 to 14 times 3, which would be 42. So just under 50 beds for 350,000 people, and they call it a crisis in ICU, where they can decide who lives and who gets treatment and who doesn't, right? Again, it's an invented crisis because that's way too little beds for that amount of people, and the way it used to be done before is we would just be going for care and they would give you care because you needed it. This is a for-profit system, and there are serious flaws, especially when it comes to patient rights. And now it's privatized, which is why they were able to just turn around the minute he died. And again, listen in the tapes. He's dead. We can't do it till he's dead. But, oh, well, I can't do it because he's dead. You know, anyway, listen for yourself. Either way, as a person with a disability, allows me to record every point of contact in order to participate in my own life and be protected by the law. I've accidentally uncovered the truth about Canada and this justice system during multiple interactions at every point of contact since 2004. It is my right, and I own every one of them, all of which are admissible as evidence. And the court and administration and law is not prepared for something like that. So it's a stopgap measure to shut it down and make sure it doesn't get into the record, and that's what's going on here. It's happening with the municipal affairs is responsible for landlord, tenant, and all housing. Municipal affairs is responsible for all police, all fire, all inspectors, prisons, prison guards, stuff like that. Hospitals, the regional coroner, again, regional courthouse, regional coroner, regional police. A prison is defined as a state institution-run system of containment. Just because you don't see the bars around us doesn't mean that we're not in a prison. Just some people have better privileges than others, because if you can't bring any of these issues up anywhere, and when you do or try to, they criminalize you, and then they shut you down and turn your life into a living hell. Because I'm in trouble here. I mean, I've been effectively cut off from health care myself because of this, because of privatized system. Because I have to go make complaints first, I guess, before you get health care. It's obvious this is punitive and it's directed. And it's designed to be this way, especially with the way it went with communication between landlord, tenant, tribunals, and all that. What's going on? Which is why we have asked, and with what happened with John Lichty, what happened with, where he was, well, you heard what happened. Make up your own mind. But because of that, we have asked for an investigation by judge under Section 279, 1A and B of the Ontario Municipal Act, inquired by Commissioner under Section 223-4 of the Ontario Municipal Act. We have asked that a criminal investigation be entered into about all allegations, including negligence on the part of the lawyer advocate with regard to the wrongful death of John Lichty in July 2019, and subsequent alleged cover-up and medical fraud, as well as harm. We ask that all punitive actions against the lawful tenants to be immediately ceased and desisted. We ask for your support to have this modus operandi of the Crown removed permanently from Canada and the world. The video series that we did, these tapes, again, are for no improper purpose. It was to document what I needed to know in order to deal with the issue. I was at home trying to deal with this thing next door. And again, put in the middle of all this, and you need to understand something. It's not the landlord and the management that is responsible to make sure these places are to code. It is the municipal affairs and housing minister. The law is set up that if the place is not to code, they can take immediate steps to bring it into compliance. Just like with withholding the information, there's a pattern of behavior here. Withholding the information about what happened to John Lichty at the hospital. And what does that mean for any patient's care? What does that mean for your care if you're the one who happens to sign that document as the permission for the surgery and follow-up care? But it says the doctor decides, but again, he was on his deathbed. They were supposed to let him go. And, there's serious issues here, but the bottom line is, again, you listen to the tapes, they are coercing her and making her feel like she's done something wrong when they're the ones who did. Again, lawyer advocate or public trustee, whatever you want to call it, the minute they're involved, their only job is to protect John's wishes, which was, it's time to let him go. The staff would have welcomed it. We would have welcomed it. John would have welcomed it because it was his wishes. But instead, these people played subterfuge because it took over a week to get the meeting. I'd have to check the dates, but again, I haven't been able to review Valkanoff meeting yet, but I'm pretty sure because of my my OCD, ADD, attention to detail kind of thing, I'm pretty damn sure I gave him a copy of that evidence of what happened in that meeting. And on reviewing what happened in that meeting, it is all there. There is no doubt. And I am making a commitment now that if I find out it was given to them, in that recording of that meeting, I will put out, again, there's no investigation being done on this, then I have no choice but to submit the evidence to jury of the public. And I will release not only the actual recording of the actual meeting with the doctor and the hospital administrators and this fiasco going on where it is obvious what is happening. I will also release the 1 hour recording of our interview with Detective Alcanoff. This is Region of Waterloo is obviously, again, what we have uncovered because of the going to Human Rights Legal Support Center. Everything I sent them, including the unlawful arrest where we had asked for liaise services. They could have brought liaise services with them. Trying to get anybody to help me fill out an application on behalf of myself and the officers. Anything in order to participate in my own life and have control of my own life, they just dismantled it because of stopgap measures. They're paying all that money for ILC, which is run by Mennonite Central Committee. All services, Lutherwood, etc., is run through the Mennonite Central Committee organization and group of partners, willing partners who are partners with police and hospital to cover up the harm they're doing. It looks good on paper. I say that a lot, but what you don't understand is not just the reports, but the law itself looks good on paper because they don't enact it. This is a concern. Look, because of the stress in the relationship and also because of the way I feel that Denise has let me down, she was my caregiver. I even enacted a power of attorney for if I got caught in a situation. We had discussed how it was supposed to be dealt with based on my wishes. But the system is so overpowering and bullying and everything, and you know, you can't get a straight answer from a lawyer or anybody else. They're all friends of the court because they're made to be. I thought you're allowed to be adversarial and challenge the court on the law, but they won't even face their own laws. They will not even uphold their own laws. That's what's going on here. That's what malfeasance and misfeasance is. I'm on my own. They tap your resources, they deplete them. So my van's almost done. The minute I lose my van, I lose mobility. Everything I own is in storage, which pretty much except for the stuff I've got here. And I've got to pay for that every month, which puts me out of reach for a place. Because again, we had a 4-bedroom, semi-detached, with a fully finished basement, second washroom facilities in the basement, which was set up for me as a disabled person. Perfect. We had the laundry room, we had air conditioning, we had a deck. We were supposed to have a fenced-in backyard finished. We were supposed to have a lawful rental. It had already been licensed by the previous owner. Again, not to code, no due diligence in inspecting it. With the documents that came from 98B, it's obvious, and again, go look at the video, you can watch while we're in the process. They already... I'm on my own. I know that. One thing I got more than anything else is that. So... And, you know, they control the narrative, so, you know, the minute I get out there, I'm vulnerable. I'll be another headline. And you got to understand something, too. May 1st, 2015, when they invited me down there under the pretense of helping me, in 122nd assault, 120 seconds from the time I left the sidewalk outside, made my way in the door to the time I was pushed out the door, physically assaulted by more, well, they said, 8 or 9 officers, but when you look at the tape, there was like 19 or 20 that went out the door. And that's at the very end of one of the tapes I put up. I can't watch it again. And, you know, they made me in a disability court defend myself because, again, it's a matter of here's the recording, there's the date and time, get the guy on the stand. Ask him the question. They are not prepared for that. That's too much truth for them. what this points out is that, again, a prison is defined as a system of containment. When it comes to disability in Canada or anywhere else, that disability sticker is the same as a yellow star. It's a mark of death. We have been marked to the point where society has again, we've been framed. We have been contained in a box, and we're being dealt with. And the headlines these days are, you can't, there's not even a standardized system of protocol in place, or even standardization of how they relate this information through education to the people who are serving us. In order to have a safe place to come and be able to go, I mean, first of all, if they were doing their job, none of this would be happening. Because again, it's the landlord, owner, and municipal affairs, but they're all willing partners because they're all at fault here. We go into the hospital, and again, it's municipal affairs. It's regional coroner, Minister Clark. You are operating a criminal organization, especially with the fact that I just found out that out of all the years that Human Rights Tribunal has been going in Ontario, out of all the cases that have been put up to it, do you know how many people have won the case? One. Because they block it. I found the information about the last time that they did it to me. And I had asked for this time again, Keisha Brooks, the lawyer, for the information regarding that complaint, because of the way I was treated. I asked them to deal with it back then, and they ignored it. And again, they're doing it again. They just don't respond. I don't need to know. Because what we don't know about what they're actually doing won't hurt them. This is a serious issue. I'm sorry. We negotiate a proper lease, legally binding contract, only to have it interfered with. The interference with the landlord, again, unfettered, because they've been given permission. They're going to have a hearing on Friday where it's already settled, because they went backdated it in a situation that was totally impossible to do given the way that it came forward, because there was other hearings that came after that, and it all gets dealt with. Either way, the other two, where's the continuity? They don't even have a list. Why isn't it listed by property? Because they went in there under 2 or 3 different entities already on the same issue, at which they created because it is unlawful to collect rent. So we stopped paying the rent by handing it to them. We made a check out, we left it on the fridge, and they could come pick it up, which they did for several months until July or August. Then they just stopped. And they created this situation where they said, we are not paying the rent when it's unlawful to do so. Because the point is this, if they make it, and again, landlord-tenant is making us pay rent. That is an unlawful act. They are forcing us by a order to break the law that they themselves are breaking and are responsible for. This is our society in protecting the rights of the tenant and disabled. No, whether it's us here, or John in the hospital, or the people in Blair fighting MZAs or whatever they're called, MZOs, municipal zone order, right? Municipal again, are we getting it? Throughout this whole thing, go watch the tapes, because they're like, we don't know who enforces that. They made me jump through hoops, and that's all it's about, keep us distracted. Because again, we had another front too, accidentally. But look what they're able to do, in the name of democracy and protection. Anyway, it's our opinion. I'm not going to make it. I already know that. I mean, here we are. They've been invited to do an inspection again. And they say all that it takes is for the tenant to go, I think there's something wrong here, please do an inspection. But they already know the answer, so they're not. they have their solution, their final solution in how to deal with people like us who have rights but are not withstanding. In Blair, when they went to council, again, I don't care how many taxes you pay, I don't care how many people you get together, and whatever evidence you bring, and what studies and what we did before, you're not withstanding. Notwithstanding means anything you submit is not admissible either, because we handed them their own record, which they are supposed to exercise due diligence to make sure it's done as an appropriate use of taxpayers' funds. Let alone this opens up what's going on with privatization of hospitals, because I guarantee you, my issue from 2004, when I was injured at work and the errors at the hospital were done, Grand River Hospital, KW Hospital at that time, but now called Grand River. This has been an ongoing issue with the board for a long time. I also have issues with them about my arrest and detainment, which is well known. And I have a do not touch order at KW, which was in effect that they ignored. The boards are amalgamated now. So if I go to St. Mary's, well, CVC-ICU at St. Mary's is where they just did what they did with Tom. So this is a trust relationship too. We're supposed to, like, again. I go to Onyx to repeat what I had before, which should have been a matter of, hey, we've done there, the records are there. All I'm asking for is a physical examination and an X-ray of my neck. Truth matters, or at least it should. Thank you. Please be well at this time of COVID.